Okay, so while going through my rounds on social media the past couple days, I came across a post on Katie Joy's Instagram. And I thought that this would serve as a really good reminder to anyone who considers being friends with her. I mean, we've all seen what happened with Sassy, when Sassy just basically just looked out for her as a fellow human and for her son. And but I mean, one could argue that they weren't really friends, so Katie's turn on Sassy, though deplorable, not entirely unexpected. But this is how she treats someone who was a friend to her, okay? Now, the post in which I'm talking about is a post from 2 days ago where the picture is of Mary Duggar, and it says that she worked as a notary days before her death. And it shows a landlord, I don't know, Hillcrest Holdings LLC, and she had signed it. Now, the post goes on to say, Amy Duggar King is being sued by her former landlord for breach of contract related to her shop 3130. The landlord alleges that Amy and Dylan broke their 5-year lease by moving out before the lease was terminated. They also alleged they were owed back rent. Now, mind you, Amy Duggar King was someone that Katie once called a friend. Like, she at least imagined they had such close of a friendship that Katie thought that she was being summoned down to Arkansas to be moral support for Amy and Amy's mom throughout Josh Duggar's trial. That's how close of a friend Katie considered Amy. And this is Amy today. Amy King announced her store was moving in mid-2021. Amy and Dylan filed a countersuit against the landlord, alleging that they were forced to move due to the landlord breaking into their unit and throwing boxes all over the store. They also alleged the landlord failed to provide adequate dumpsters for their trash, along other complaints. One complaint they had related to the renovations the landlord made to their unit. They claimed that the landlord gouged them and increased the improvement costs. When the renovations were through, the couple signed a first amended lease with the landlord. Their monthly rent went up from approximately $3,300 per month to $6,600 per month due to the store doubling in size. And it just goes on to say how, this means Mary was working up until her death, further proving how quickly life can change in an instant. Let's be honest, that's not what Katie's trying to get at here. Katie's trying to make it sound as if this poor woman was worked into her grave. Hillcrest Holdings LLC denied the counterclaims and requested their countersuit be dismissed. They are seeking damages for the lost revenue from the broken lease. So in May, Amy announced that she was closing her storefront at her new location. And then here's the part that stands out to me the most. If you scroll down into the comments, someone had commented, "Damn, never crossed Katie Joy," to which Katie responds with, "This is not about revenge. I've been researching and working the story for months. When I tried to get a comment from Amy in December, that's kind of when she started publicly calling me a liar." Wow, someone says. Yes, I've been documenting, as I do with all the Duggars. When the lawsuit was filed, then I started doing a bit more research. Someone then says, she called you a liar for asking her to comment on something in an effort to give her a chance to share her side of the story. She's delusional. Not exactly, Katie says. While researching LLCs of the Duggars, I was connecting property records to LLCs to sort through holdings by Jim Bob. When I was looking at these records, I noticed a federal tax lien against Amy and Dylan for over $50,000. A few days later, while speaking to her about a separate unrelated topic, I let her know I had found this lien. I just let her know I found this shit. I told her that it wasn't on purpose. I didn't go looking for it. I was just looking into this kind of shit for the rest of your family. It wasn't on purpose. So I just wanted to ask about it. Most reporters that cover the Duggars search the same records I do. Do they, though? Do they? So I assumed if I'd found it, then so had others. She told me that their previous accountant gave them bad advice related to a show they were on in 2017 or 2018. That was the sort of That was sort of the end of the conversation. Within a few days, she started calling my reporting lies and mistruths. This also happened to coincide with her making a video where she mocked another YouTuber and then lied about it, backtracked, and blamed me. I continued my research on the LLCs and kind of dropped it. I keep researching businesses and ties and found the other stuff. Really? I find it interesting. I just thought I'd tell her about it. I just thought I'd just let her know that I found it. But before that, she says, when I tried to get a comment from Amy in December, well, then down here, I just wanted to let her know I found it, you know? Anyway, what I find, though, that stands out the most is if for those of us who were around when all of this played out, specifically the instance with the mocking of the YouTuber, that's not what happened. Now, for granted, I do think Amy was, in fact, intentionally mocking Backwoods Barbie, and I think she then tried to walk back on it, so she kind of came up with this bullshit excuse or story on what she was really doing. I do think Amy was lying there. But Amy didn't then start calling Katie's reporting lies because of the whole YouTube thing. No, the YouTube thing was like pretty well before all this shit going down. This shit happened because Katie got outed as being full of shit and imagining some sort of relationship where there just wasn't that much of one. She was on a live stream on Instagram saying how I have to go down to Arkansas. Amy and her mom asked me to come down to be moral support for them. I'm not too worried about security, though. I mean, I'll be with them, so I'll be safe. I don't have to worry about my safety, although I probably should worry about my safety down there. And then she goes on to say how it's not that I'm Amy's best friend, but I'm the one friend she has that truly understands what's going on here. Amy saw that and was like, yo, what the fuck? Let's single white female this back a few steps, okay? Okay, fam? That's what she was like. And she called her out on it. And she went to social media and she said, yeah, no, this isn't the case. She was very polite about it, I thought. She could have really, I think, dragged Katie Joy and embarrassed her, but she didn't, because she's not as low as Katie Joy is. But she definitely was like, yo, this ain't happening. We ain't that good of friends. We ain't that close. I didn't ask you to do shit. You stay right where you are. Katie's excuse to this was, well, in a live stream, she and her husband invited me down to visit them sometime. So like months ago on a live stream, they're like, oh yeah, you should definitely come down sometime. Yeah, come visit. Yeah. Like a lot of people do. And then people, oh yeah, sure. Okay, definitely, to be polite. But only Katie Joy would take this shit as fact. Okay. And start fucking booking her plane flight down there, you know? So yeah, that's what happened. But you see, Katie Joy can't let this shit lie. No, she's still mad at Amy over this. She's mad that Amy didn't let Katie Joy have her moment, have her fantasy, have her imagined friendship affair with Amy. No, Katie Joy's pissed off she didn't get her envisioned reality. So now she's pulling up Mary Duggar and trying to connect that with some shady ass shit from Amy and her husband, which is, if you want to call it shady as shit, it's taxes. It's freaking, who hasn't owed taxes to some degree in their life? Well, I kind of haven't, but like one of my kids did, you know, it was, for granted, it was by mistake, but still, yeah, okay, it happens to all of us, most of us. Anyway, so what? They're also dealing in more money than I'm seeing. So they're probably going to owe more in taxes than I'm making. So to be behind $50K in taxes may not be that big of a deal. I don't know. Anyway, it's not some shady ass shit. It's not some nefarious goings on or whatever by them. They just owe some taxes. Okay? It's not like a DWI. I'll just throw that out there. Anyway, but still, it's still it's still being, I guess, reprimanded, in trouble, noticed, whatever, by the government. And now she's trying to connect the characters behind this reprimanding of the government to the death of Mary Duggar, and throwing in how she worked right up into the day of her death, just about. Yeah. This is how she treats someone who she called a friend, someone who she claimed to adore, someone who she was like a ride or die for, and someone who she claimed was a ride or die for her. This is how she treats them. Because here's the thing. She can be mad at Amy, sure. But just because Amy didn't give you what you wanted one time doesn't mean that everything you thought about her or you saw in her was false before that. But now you're acting as if your entire impression of her the entire time you knew her is bullshit. So I ask all of you, everyone who watches Katie Joy, who follows her, whatever, how can you really trust her when she tells you anything about anyone ever again? Let's see, there's the whole James Charles thing. Let's just see all the DMs of people she showed. I mean, if that doesn't tip you off on how she's out for herself and no one else, she doesn't know what it means to be a good friend, let alone what a good friend looks like. I mean, yeah. Let this serve as a warning to anyone who ever comes close or is in a position to possibly be a friend to Katie Joy. Because this will be you, and this could very well be one of your relatives who passed away up on screen being tied to you and being implied that you had something to do with their demise.